Titans Return Week Decepticon Edition, because saying Titans Return Weeks is a little strange. And speaking of a little strange, our focus today is the final deluxe from Wave 1. This is Scourge, the Decepticon sweep leader. Scourge and the sweeps. This is the kind of toy that is guaranteed to sell many more copies than it really should. But hey, let's see if it's actually a good mold, and we'll determine if you really should or not. So as you can see, it is very much the G1 look. A lot of little touches to update the design, but for the most part, we're dealing with a very vintage vehicle here. He is a space cruiser of very alien design, very sleek, because of course you need sleek in space because of all the resistance with the vacuum of this. No, no, let's just leave it. It's a spaceship. It's cast in a very light blue plastic with various paint applications in different shades. Some standard deep blue and a little bit of turquoise toward the front. You can also find just a little bit of red on the inside of those intakes, I'm going to say, because they lead up to the thrusters there in the back, and a little bit of silver on the side, which I assume to be vents or exhausts. This is a very sci-fi design, so it's kind of left to your imagination just what is actually going on and what you actually interpret as different components of the ship. The thrusters molded into the back on those blue sections, that I can see. That seems very intentional, as are the little wings that I believe are new to this particular vehicle mode. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, and I'm sure someone in the comments will be going to correct me, but it does strike me as a new feature, and it's kind of needed a little bit just to give him a bit more of a vibe of, hey, this is something that flies. Then again, it is a very alien design. The sweeps always were, so it is what it is. It's mostly kept pretty sleek as far as the molding goes. There's not a whole lot of deep molding going on, and most of it is kept to the engine sections, little vents and such going all the way around. For the most part, though, it is very subtle lines and keeps to a very smooth profile. What is not too smooth, unfortunately, is that gap in the front, which I cannot close up. The friction isn't there, and the parts just are not aligned correctly to fix themselves and actually close that gap up, which is unfortunate, because otherwise it's a very nice looking vehicle. I will say, in photos, this looked boxier than it is. As you can see, it is very sleek and round in shape in general. I think it's these extra little panels that are just hanging off the bottom with nowhere to go. They kind of make it a little bit squared off from certain angles. So what else can we do with this little guy? Well, there's no landing gear whatsoever. There's nothing to roll on, nothing to do anything with that way. We can, however, open up the cockpit and extract his Titan Master, Fracas, based on his Target Master from Generation 1. As far as these guys go, this is about as most solid as I've seen. The lower legs are painted in that turquoise color, but beyond that, a little bit of silver and red on the face. Man, the eye visor is painted. That is a very tiny detail to include. But yeah, beyond that, he is just straight up a slightly shiny metallic blue. But let's see, what else can we do? Well, there's a couple things. Well, for starters, he does have this double-barreled cannon, which is one of those Titan Master weapons that comes with a cockpit, which means it kind of looks strange as a weapon itself, but once you actually mount a Titan Master in there, it does give it a little bit of a riding pilot kind of thing. You can also remove this piece, which I believe is supposed to be some kind of sensor unit, because he was a tracker, and then flip it around, mount it there, and now we have a triple-barrel gun that the little guy seems to be piloting and aiming himself. I like those plate features when it comes to this toy line. Also, there are a few pegs that we can see toward the front. I always forget to show these off, but I try to include them when I can. Little pegs that allow you to peg on a Titan Master from another figure and just kind of have a riding buddy who can somehow stand. This is my Silver Surfer. on the Unicron surfboard of doom. And beyond that, there is one other little trick, and we'll have to start transforming him in order to show it off, because to do that, I have to transform the head. Might as well flip out his little antenna thing, just for the sake of doing so. Now, if you look at this hole, you'll notice that it's actually notched just a little bit. It's not a complete 5mm hole. It actually does have enough space to mount the head. Because if you remember a brief bit of the Transformers original G1 movie, that was something that was seen in the movie. That is a nice little Easter egg for the designers to include. And those notches on that socket do tell me that that was a completely intentional thing. So that's kind of hilarious. I will respect that. Okay, robot mode time, because we've been talking about this vehicle mode for quite a while, considering how simple it actually is. So we're opening up these side panels, which of course are going to become the wings, so they're mostly just big pieces of shell. I'm going to completely rotate these components down, which is what's going to form the legs. As you can see, nose cone folds forward, get the little tabs so you can flip out the heels. Do the same thing on this side. Now these panels, which gave us a little bit of design question in the vehicle mode, are actually going to fold over and solidify the actual leg. Because now that I remember, these are not the heels. These are the feet. These are the actual feet. Okay, so I got that backwards a little bit. Never mind. We're still going. I'm going to rotate that all the way around, and then this entire column, pelvis all the way up, has to go all the way up through his belly. Click it into place, and that locks all that together. Bring the arms down, flip out the hands, and from here we are ready for the head. Now, in my experience, the heads can kind of go in either way. They're meant to clip into the head with the face pointing backwards, but I actually find that it makes them have a little bit of a rattle. So I like to put them the other way, and that actually for the most. Actually, have I actually tried that on this mold? Because that doesn't seem to go as well. Okay, never mind. We'll do it the way I'm supposed to, at least for this review. Antenna up. And with that, we have our G1 Scourge from the Titans Return line in his robot mode. I can adjust the camera angle now and actually show him in his full, very blue glory. This is once again where we kind of ask the designers, why blue? Why all of the blue? Why have you decided now of all times to go, we're going to make them all solid colors, just for no other reason other than it saves on paint, I guess. But yeah, blue. I've used the Eiffel joke way too many times, so I'm just going to go into the head design here. Now, he does have his signature mustache and beard, so he does have the look of Scourge, and I do like that they integrated his little antenna. The thing that is getting to a lot of people is how squared off the head looks, because he is now these headmaster style design. I don't mind it so much. It's such a solid shade of blue. It still looks okay. It's not accurate to the original, I will give you that, but I'm not too terribly offended by it. It still looks enough like Scourge to make me happy. And that's all I really want, is just be happy, So yeah, we look at the robot mode, and it is very stark metallic blue. The advantage to this mode is this metallic blue was almost completely hidden in the vehicle mode. So one element to his kind of shell transformation style, he does hide a lot of this away. So it's a very big visual change. That said, the visual change is kind of marred by just how little change the visuals are. And here's the strange thing. He does have paint. He does have variation in his colors. You can tell it's very slight, but the bicep is actually a different shade of blue. It's much more metallic, and it's slightly lighter. And if it had been a few shades lighter, you'd really be able to tell, and this wouldn't be such an issue. It's to the point where I'm not even sure what else on this toy is in that shade of plastic. It could be, I don't think the thighs are, or the feet are, but they could have been. Would have been nice, and it would have been nice if the change was just a little bit more drastic. But it is what it is, I suppose. What I do like in the deco is, once again, we do see some vintage stickering going on. A little bit of yellow on the pelvis. The chest is what really got to me. Like, that actually looks kind of cool and harkens back to the original G1 toy. He does have a little Decepticon symbol trimmed in silver right there on the chest. And because of his shell former nature, he does hide a lot of molding we did not see before. He has a rockin' 8-pack of abs, which I will never in my life obtain. And he does have a lot of intricate little molding to give him a more paneled armor look, though he still manages to maintain this very sleek and smooth design overall, from the bubbly shoulders and the round forearms to the round shape of his torso. Everything just kind of shows he is sleek, he is quick, and he's probably going to track somebody down, because that's kind of his thing. So yeah, the molding is pretty good, and I will say the feel on him is also not bad. He does feel a little bit hollow in some sections, in particular the arms. You can see how much plastic is missing out of there, but for the most part he's not bad. You're going to get it the most in the legs because of how they transform, but they had to hide the upper part of the legs, so that's pretty standard at this point. I've had Transformers who do that for years. Articulation wise, we go to the head, where we do have a ball joint that works in every direction, mostly left and right, but you get some up and down motion out of it as well. We have shoulder joints with ball rotation, which works exceedingly well as the hinge in the torso for a little bit of added range. Bicep rotation, elbows to the 90 degrees. Wrist goes in and out, but no actual rotation to it. Nothing in the waist. The thighs, universally jointed and a little bit of detenting, but nothing that takes it out of the realm of unnatural. Thigh swivel, that's good. Knees, could be better. Doesn't quite hit 90 degrees, but it's okay. You do have two hinges there in the feet, in the front and the back, so you can adjust some balance in his poses. Otherwise, they are slanted to the natural angle. You also do have some play in the wings themselves. I do wish that's the one thing you can never quite get right on Scourges, no matter what, is you cannot get that shell to actually fold and splay out like wings like they had in the original G1 cartoon. It's about the one flaw that always comes up missing. This is the one toy where you have an excuse to add all of his shell kibble onto his back, and it never quite looks the way it's supposed to. They try, but doesn't quite pull it off. But you do still have two hinges in each, so you can adjust. You can fold them away completely if you want, or splay them out in an attempt to get the wing look. And from there, he does still have his weaponry, which, of course, holds in his hands, about as well as you can expect, though. That's quite tight on there. Let me try the other hand. Come on. Gotta hold your weapon for the final pose. There you go. Being stubborn with me. There's another thing about the little antennas, and Blur had the same thing. They do like to fold down. There's nothing really pinning or pegging them in but friction, so it gets a little... If you catch it in the wrong position or move the head around a little bit too vigorously, it's going to fall on you, which is kind of a letdown. So that, my friends, is Titan's Return, Scourge, and Fracas. It is not a bad toy in the least. Again, like Blur, he comes up way short on the variations of blue he really needs to kind of stand out and look more like a involved figure. As it stands, he is extremely blue all the way through. He does have the advantage over Blur in that the visual change from modes is much more drastic. Since there it was primarily the light blue, here it's primarily the metallic. So he does have that going for him. And hey, you know what you're going to do if you want your army of sweeps. You're going to buy the Takara version that has all the cartoon accurate colors. Then you're going to buy up the cheaper Hasbro versions to act as your army of sweeps. You know that's how collectors are going to work this. So I guess in the end, it's not a bad thing. If this is the only one you can afford, he does not make a bad Scourge. He certainly makes a better G1 Scourge than anything we've had before. He's had good toys thanks to Generations, but if you're looking for Cybertronian design, G1 accurate design, the mold on this guy is great. It's just a letdown of color scheme this time.